Let me ask you a question. Do you know who David and Goliath is? It's one of the most famous stories in the whole world, not just in the Bible. It's become known as your Goliath, as something that's this huge mountain, this huge obstacle that you have to overcome. David was the young shepherd boy who was meant to be king, but his time was not there yet. And he goes and he hears Goliath making fun of the God of the Hebrews, the one true God. And David, of course, as the story goes up to Saul and says, look, I'll take care of him because I'm a shepherd. And Saul, who was known as the tallest, most handsome, most extravagant, most perfect man in Israel who became king, puts all of his armor and all of his weaponry and everything on David. You could see that comical scene just play out where David's got armor on that's way too big, and he's got a sword that he can't pick up and a spear, whatever's going on, and he just doesn't need it. What does he tell Saul? I don't need this. I fight lions with my sheep, because he's a shepherd. He takes care of his sheep. Anything that's coming in, he is going to take care of it. He has taken all that knowledge and all that wisdom, everything that is used in being a shepherd, and he's going to use that to fight Goliath because he's got God by his side. That's his thing. He says, if God is for me, who can be against me? Right? Like, who can actually be against me? So that's how he picks up and he becomes the slayer of Goliath. But what I find most fascinating is how he got to know that Goliath was there. You see, his brothers were out fighting the war, and his dad calls in the shepherd boy, calls in the smallest, calls in the one that we now know as David. Back then, he was just David the shepherd boy, the youngest of the sons. But now we know him as King David, the great king, the one whom the Messiah will come from, the most famous man in all of Hebrew scriptures. But back then, he was a shepherd boy, and his dad called him to go feed his brothers. It actually says to bring him the cheese. David was bringing the cheese to his brothers when he heard that call of Goliath. Leads me to think, what is my cheese? What is your cheese? What are you going to do that seems so mundane as being an ancient Jewish Uber driver to bring his brothers their food? What is so mundane that can become so radical? This is the place where David becomes the king, the exalted one, the one whom God will just use. And it all started with him bringing the cheese. I don't know what that is for you. I don't know what that is for me. But I do know all of us have something that we have to do that is itty bitty, that is mundane, that is everyday, that then in turn will blow up to become this amazing, giant revival in God's hands.